Welcome to the first episode in a series, I guess an entire channel devoted to my love of books, and in particular, coffee table books. I figured it would be fitting for the inaugural episode to look at my inaugural coffee table book. This is not that copy. This is a new copy I got to show off the dust jacket. Naval Gun, Ian Hogg and John Batchelor. The actual copy I got, which is right down below, is at least 30 years old. Was picked up on a family trip to Maine at the Owl and Turtle bookshop. Father got it. I've read this cover to cover more times than I can count. It epitomizes the qualities that make a good coffee table book. It has color plates, but it also has a wealth of text and history. This was published in 1978, and it contains an entire history of naval gunnery from the beginning of naval gunnery all the way till the 70s. We start the early chapters talking about very ancient, call it 14th century artillery and cannon. And we can see here an early breech loading attempt. But we quickly move on to the broadside era, the age of sail. You can see this book has been very, very well worn. Read it many times. I really enjoy to read this style of book while I'm eating, because one can both look at the pictures and read very interesting text. As we get into some other books, we'll note some that really are nothing more than some pictures with small little fact segments, more encyclopedic in nature, whereas this is an actual history. But it still does have these glorious color pictures, denoting here a couple of broadside mountings on carriages. I'll start to pick up the pace here a little bit. Some mortars there. The writing style in here is excellent. It is a fascinating read. I would imagine even if you are not interested in naval gunnery. There we have a artist rendition, some fighting at sea. Move forward here. Design of early shells, and that's a fuse on the top right. We will skip ahead a little bit, and we get to the ironclad era. We're now in the ironclad era. And there's an interior of a monitor, Civil War era monitor, slightly afterwards. Smoothbore guns, firing round shot. Again, look at the, you can't feel it, but the great paper here. Full of illustrations and pictures. That, I think, is going to be the Warrior. So an English ironclad. We get into my favorite chapter here, the Great Debate. This is kind of breech loading versus muzzle loading in terms of what the guns are. Here we see a rifled muzzle loader of the mid to late 19th century. So a turreted ship. And this is great. It traces the entire detail and history of this transitional period between breech loading and muzzle loading. One could only imagine that it's through the lens of history that we can really dig into this. Some shells and another rifle muzzle loader. Well, some of the tools one would use for a muzzle loader. Here's a breech mechanism, a couple types of breech mechanism. Now again, another transitional period here with the ironclad to dreadnought. This is more going to be the how fire control is developed. So here's a very large breech loader, 270 millimeter. That's roughly 11 inches, 10 inches. Large broadside breech loader, the late 19th century. A couple of muzzle loaders. And so as we start getting here into more of the modern era, fire control becomes an issue. And we'll learn all about the details of controlling these large guns. Here's a Hotchkiss, 37 millimeter. The Gardner machine gun. So yes, it does touch on some other oddball things, the small guns, not just the big guns, the small guns. Here's the dynamite cannons, a bizarre ship. More Hotchkiss. This one's a little bit bigger. That's, I guess, a 2-inch, 53 millimeter, instead of 1.5 inches. And so this is the round that the Vesuvius fired. So it was a dynamite round, bizarre shell, a little bit of an experiment. We get to the probably my second favorite section, tested by fire, where we go up to we're now starting in the 20th century, late 19th to 20th century. Discussion about turrets. It was much more on fire control. There's a Japanese twin turret. Anti-aircraft defense now becomes important. Now we see, getting to the end, the twilight of the big gun. There's a plan that looks like a British turret, some type. That's from the HMS Hood. That's a detailed view of the HMS Hood's turret. Ammunition hoists. And then here are three, a battle cruiser and 2 battleships. The Hood, the Bismarck, and the Yamato. Yamato class being the largest battleships ever fielded. See, this is a fascinating tale. And we'll come back, and Ian Hogg, the author, has made a few other great books, or written a few other great books. He's a known name in the field. Another name that we'll see a couple times, if not more, Bill Gunston, although more aviation-centered. And then we close out. There are some very modern-looking mountings. Late 20th century type gunnery. And this kind of feels like towards the end there's a sad feeling. And I don't know if you've read the Silmarillion. At the end of the last chapter, you get a line to the effect of, the story of the elves is done. And the story of the gun, at least in a naval context, is complete by the late 70s. We may revisit this in another video. Leave a comment below. I'm just trying this out to see about looking at my books, making videos about them. I have a collection of them. We will talk about things other than strictly coffee table books. There will be some fiction, a lot of nonfiction, some computing, some history. But let me know if you like this format. If you don't, also let me know that as well. And we'll probably have another one up shortly.